Hey y'all, and welcome back to Balance Basketball Academy. My name is Jordan. I was a former college basketball player, now turned trainer, and today we got another breakdown. We're going to break down Derrick Rose's 50-point game he had with the Minnesota Timberwolves several years ago, and I think that it's appropriate to go over the bombastic career of a player like Derrick Rose and look into one of the highlights of his career, which was that 50-point game. And so now we got a full breakdown of every single bucket he scored and several of the assists, as well as some things that he didn't score, because I think that pretty much every bit of the game is a learning opportunity. So we're going to break that down today, and let's get right into it. This is a missed shot, and it is Derrick Rose's first attempt of the game, because there's something else to take from this drive that I think is very valuable for point guards and just ball handling players alike, or frankly for any player. But let's take a look. What Derrick does right here is he's really patient. He's not rushed. He sits on that pump fake. He gets an open shot. That's a really high percentage shot. Just dribbles off the rim right here. Again, he's not zipping around, and I think that's something that's very emblematic of the tail end of Derrick Rose's career. I would say post a lot of his major injuries was Derrick Rose was much more patient and used his speed, which he still had, in short bursts and a lot more intelligently, and I think that's the reason why he stuck in the NBA as long as he did. From a defensive perspective, Donovan Mitchell does something that is actually not half bad here. He does help only one pass away, which can lead to open three-point shots like this one. But the thing is that with the shot clock so low, and with Derrick Rose not being a super high volume or high percentage three-point shooter, that's a calculated risk that Donovan Mitchell takes. As for Derrick Rose, this is a really great step-in three. You have this double team at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen that you can see right here. Nice little double team with, I cannot tell who that is, guarding Cat, and then Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell has his hand straight up. Derrick Rose is sitting right at the top of the key. He's ready to go. He catches that ball, steps into the shot. He's patient. Once more, we're seeing this common thread. Players who score a lot of points actually tend to be patient. Funny how that works. And just steps into that three, takes what comes to him, and that's a really, really excellent shot. Derrick Rose gets a dribble handoff from Taj Gibson. That's a really excellent play for a guard to come off of. It can work as a screen and roll opportunity, essentially. We're going to take a look at this right here. It essentially becomes a screen because Ricky Rubio gets caught in this screen as Taj is handing the ball off and rolling. This is perfectly legal. A lot of times you can get away with this. And I say get away with this even though it's perfectly legal because, again, it's not really a screen. Taj Gibson is getting out of the way, but Rubio is still caught. Now, Derrick Rose has a defender behind him. He's working on the second line of defense. We got airplane arms Rudy Gobert, who is just waiting for Rose to come to him. And so what Rose does next is he attacks the baseline. And the way he's attacking the baseline, it looks like he's going to try to do a reverse layup. That's what Gobert's betting on. That's why his right arm is up and his left arm is just meeting Derrick Rose where he is. Rose decides to actually jump kind of sideways and backwards a little bit. This is a very athletic play in order to get Gobert off guard. Finishes with his right hand, his inside hand, to get that ball up and on the glass as fast as possible. So in the case that Rudy Gobert would try to block his shot, it would be a goaltend because it's getting to the glass almost instantly. We'll take a look at it right there. Very beautiful play. And a very athletic play that's kind of sneakily athletic that people don't really notice until you break it down in full like that. This is a rejected screen from Karl Anthony Towns. We have Derrick Rose, who's jabbing in the direction of the screen, getting Rubio to fully commit, to fully get into that screen, to give Rose some extra space on the baseline. You'll see that baseline's pretty open right now. Derrick Rose gives a nice little jab step, goes in the other direction. He's got two people on him, briefly. Then Rubio decides to switch back out onto Karl Anthony Towns, as we've seen earlier. Derek Favors is on him. But unlike his last play against Gobert, Favors is playing him a lot tighter. He's not holding him from a distance. He's playing him chest to chest. And because of that, Derrick Rose is going to have a really hard time getting a bucket up here. But Gobert still screws this play up for the Jazz, unfortunately, and Derrick Rose makes the proper read. Gobert starts ball watching. Favors has this right here. He's got it nailed. But Gobert starts ball watching. He's not looking at ball and man. He's just looking at Derrick Rose, who's the threat right now. He's still looking at Derrick Rose. Now he has his back completely to his man right here. Not good. And by the time the ball gets to Taj Gibson, Gobert has to close some distance. Gibson's already ready to shoot. You can see he's basically in the pocket. He's a second away, and boom, easy shot right there. So Derrick Rose was able to make the proper reading the second defender, the help defender, and getting ahead of things and getting his guy an open shot. Derrick Rose challenges Gobert once more right here. The Jazz, the defensive scheme you're going to notice them going with is when their man gets beaten, the default is to switch. Switch. Bigs and guards, everybody switches. And this is where Derrick Rose is really going to have a lot of fun and play some excellent basketball here, is he gets advantageous switches where he can outmaneuver bigger players or players that are trapped behind him because of a screen or a handoff or a blow-by. This is not a fast break opportunity, but Derrick Rose pushes the pace regardless and forces the defense to actually, well, play defense. So he makes that crossover. He's rejecting technically a screen from Taj Gibson right there, who gives a little slip. Gibson is spacing right here, so that pocket pass is there for a floater if he wants it, but he doesn't go for that instead. He says, I've taken on Gobert before. I'm going to do that again. That's exactly what he does. So here's another thing. I'm going to play this in slow-mo a couple of times so you can see it. Instead of going for a one-footed floater, which is fine, it can be fast, popping your feet and going off of two can be a really, really great way to get into your floater quickly and get a nice, decent amount of power behind your floater to where the defense is a half second too late, and that's really all you need. And he pops his feet right there. Pops his feet. Gobert is focused on guarding two people at a time. So he's really guarding neither. It's like if you chase two rabbits, you're not going to catch either of them. It's the same concept here. He's trying to keep Taj Gibson from getting the ball in an easy bucket, and he's also trying to keep Derrick Rose from doing that, but he can't predict exactly when Derrick Rose is going to take off. Gobert has to play two. He's not doing it very well. Rose pops his feet. Great body control to be able to finish that bucket. I'm going to be repeating myself a lot here. Couple things we've already seen. Screen reject, and attack Gobert, and a foul. It's actually three things, so couple is not the accurate term there. We got a screen, this time again from Taj Gibson, but on the right side of the floor. Rose does a nice little crossover. Crossover is one of the best ways to reject a screen, because crossover is you're going one way and you're pulling it to the other direction. Pretty nice. Derrick Rose has a very, very snappy crossover, so this is a strong move for him. Crosses over. Now Rubio is behind him, so you can see it right there. Derrick Rose has all the freedom to attack somebody who's backpedaling, that being Rudy Gobert once again, who is not meeting his man straight up. He's waiting for Derrick Rose to close that space, therefore giving Derrick Rose really deep paint penetration. Ugh, okay. We'll keep talking about Gobert, but yeah. So Derrick Rose makes that attack. He's going into Gobert, not the other way around, okay? And because of that, he initiates the contact first, and whoever initiates the contact first typically wins, okay? And in this case, Derrick Rose initiates that contact, gets fouled. He does get partially blocked, but because he gets that contact, he gets some free throws, and Gobert has now committed his second foul. We saw this with Caitlin Clark as well. Before she even got the ball, is she would look up the floor. So Derrick Rose, look at his head right there. His head turns very briefly. I'm gonna show this in slow motion because I think it's uber important. Okay, Derrick Rose is gonna just turn his head ever so slightly right here. Okay, so we're gonna get this three-pointer from Jay Crowder. It's gonna go off, I think, the back iron. I forget. Yeah, goes off the back iron. You see that head turn right there from Derrick Rose. He's off and away. Okay, Derrick Rose is still looking up the floor. Look at his head. He's surveying. He's scanning. Dante Exum is not respecting Derrick Rose's ability to shoot. And Derrick says, okay, I'm going to give you a little hezzy, and I'm going to just pull up right here. And he scores. This is a really great shot. If you're a point guard and you want a truly unstoppable shot, catch and shoot threes are great, but for point guards, pull-up threes are going to be the thing that makes you a lot more deadly. If you can hit a three off of a pick and roll, so right off of a screen into the shot if somebody's playing drop coverage on you, or if you can fast break your way and everybody's clogging the paint and you have an open three, that's a really great way to start opening things up for your teammates because you become a threat yourself. Rose actually accepts that screen from Gibson this time. Rubio goes through that screen, he's trying to skinny up, but he still gets caught. That's going to happen again and again. We got some drop coverage once more. Gobert is letting Rose come to him, okay? And what Rose does is he pulls back and he settles right here for this jump shot. He is open here. He is. He still gets blocked. The issue is because he, I think, turns this into a pass. You can see how flat this comes off as. I don't think he's actually shooting this. I think he was trying to pass this to Taj Gibson right here. Now, we may never know, but you can see Taj Gibson right here has a nice little post up, sealing Ricky Rubio for that whole open side on the left right there. That's a good play, but not over Rudy Gobert. At that point, once you've committed to a shot, you have to shoot the shot. And so this ends up being this really weird flat pass thing. I'm trying to give Rose some credit here. Sometimes it gets very difficult. Let's say this has happened to me a bunch of times, where you're shooting the ball and you're like, oh, should I bank it or should I try and swish it? And then you get caught in between and you miss it. You should have just committed to one and, lived with the result. It's kind of the same thing here. He should have just shot a jumper and it would have had a high enough arc that he would have been fine. And it would have gotten over Gobert's outstretched hands. But because that shot is so unusually flat, I think he was trying to make a pass and it ends up in essentially a turnover. I don't know exactly how it was counted as far as stats go. For those of you who remember Mark Jackson on ESPN, the term still applies. Hand down, man down. Ricky Rubio's hand does go up, just way too late. Ricky Rubio decides to double in the corner. There's a switch real quick between Donovan Mitchell and Ricky Rubio, and Rubio decides to switch and double Karl Anthony Towns with favors. So Mitchell has two players. He has Okogie, I believe, and Derrick Rose. Those two he's covering too. And Okogie is one pass away. So this is a really tough assignment for Mitchell, and you'll see how this doesn't end up well for the Jazz. And so they actually do really well right here. They push Karl Anthony Towns all the way into the corner. Rubio has that hand nice and high. That's great. That's exactly what you want to see from a double. If I were a coach and I were nitpicking here, I would say I would like to see Favors close that gap a little bit and really box Karl Anthony Towns in. Just a little aside here. One of the best places to double team somebody is right after half court, because you have the half court line, you have the sideline, and also right at the very corner right here, because you have the sideline, the baseline, and then if you have a trap coming in, you're basically boxed in. That's a perfect trap. So he's boxed in right here. I'm not trying to pick on Rudy Gobert, but I'm gonna do it again. If you guys are fans, I'm so sorry. I'm telling it how I see it, man. I don't have anything against the guy. Okay. The reason why this trap doesn't work is because of Rudy Gobert. Taj Gibson does a really smart heads-up play. He goes into... So right now, he's sitting at the right block. His man is Rudy Gobert. Gobert loses track of his guy for way too long, and Taj Gibson decides to cut to the middle. That's one of the best ways to break a trap or a press or any kind of zone, is pass it middle and move that ball real quick. That's exactly what happens. Gibson has a nice heads-up play, and so the trap is broken. Now, we got a problem. We got Ingles, who is thinking, okay, should I guard Ball or should I guard my guy Wiggins in the corner? Donovan Mitchell is fine where he is, guarding Okogie one pass away. Favors is fine where he is, but you have this displaced Ricky Rubio because he just committed to a trap, and now he's got to run back to his guy who's all the way up at the very top right here. Not great, and it's all because if the defense doesn't work as a unit, it falls apart, and buckets get scored, especially at this level of the game, and that's exactly what happens. Derrick Rose just takes advantage. Derrick Rose is right here. Hands down. He's daring Derrick Rose to shoot the three. Derrick Rose has already made 2, so he says, you know what? I feel confident. Let's put up another 3. So defensively, not the worst decision to ever make here. But it doesn't end well because a couple other breakdowns happen before then. Rose just steps into that 3. Nice and easy. Real easy. I mean, again, he was gliding into that thing. It was simple. And now he's made 3 threes. He's 3 of 5 from the 3-point line. He's off to a really, really good start. If you watched the Mavericks and Timberwolves series this last year, Gobert now plays for the Timberwolves, funnily enough. The Mavericks cooked Gobert because of drop coverage. They had a player in Luka Doncic who was able to drive, and the big man was giving him space. In that case, it was typically Gobert. And it turned into a lot of buckets for Luka Doncic and a lot of issues for the Timberwolves. Gobert is a really excellent shot blocker, but as far as the middle ground goes, he's really scared of getting blown by, so he'll backpedal and he'll wait for you to put up a shot and then he'll try and swat it out of the air. And Derrick Rose just knows how to play his timing really well. We got a double screen in this case. Wiggins sets a little screen, but the second screen's the one that matters. MVP of this game is actually Taj Gibson, because Taj Gibson does a lot of really smart things. He sets really solid screens that actually make contact with the player that he's supposed to be making contact with. Empty flash-in-the-pan screens are one of the most frustrating things in basketball for me, and Taj Gibson is just doing his job. So, shout out to him, even though this video is not about him, still. Derrick Rose is dealing with some drop coverage. Gobert's just backpedaling. And Rose is like, you know what, I'm going to rise up into this floater, and it's going to be really easy. That's a tough floater. You can see this is all the way from the elbow, but when you get to an NBA level, being able to make elbow floaters, it has to be an easy shot for you. For most point guards in the NBA, again, if they've played any amount of time and they're not just like G League fringe guys, even still, those guys will do it, can make this shot. This is an easy shot by an NBA standard. And Derrick Rose just, again, completely nails it. We'll take a look at it one more time. Nice little screen there. There's some movement, but it's a good screen. And good floater from Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose plays a very patient game, especially once he was in New York and in Minnesota, and then his brief tenure in Memphis as well. Derrick Rose is just milking that ball screen action because a point guard's bread and butter is the ability to work the screen. If you can work the screen as a point guard like a pro, you will find a spot on a team. You will. This is one of the most important skills you can have as a point guard. So, we got an initial screen from Karl-Anthony Towns, and Derrick Rose doesn't really like the look he's getting. He has made several threes. A lot of point guards would step into a three-point shot. Right from here, there's enough space, that's fine. Yep, he decides, okay, you know what, I got my switch. I don't have to attack. He doesn't quite get a second screen, but he does get that switch he's looking for, and he's like, all right, now I got a big man on me. I can cook, because I can outspeed this guy, and these guys are not used to a guard tempo as far as guarding that. Okay. Taj Gibson clears out. Awesome. Okay. Karl-Anthony Towns clearing out. Awesome. Our big men are doing what they're supposed to do. They're letting Derrick Rose get some space to isolate. Awesome. Okay, Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is like, all right, I'm going to cook a little bit. He goes into a hezzy pull-up. Yay, the hezzy pull-up is back. One of my favorite moves. Oh, I love this move so much. Okay? And this hesitation works really well because Derrick Rose's first step is legendary. Even at this point in his career, it's legendary, right? That hesitation can turn into a split-second drive, and Derek Favors can be like, oh, I'm left in the dust. So his default is, hey, you know what? If Derrick Rose is going to do anything awesome, I need to back up so I can actually play defense on him. Rose uses that knowledge against him, hits that pull-up. Beautiful shot. This is, frankly, it's 70% Taj Gibson and 30% Derrick Rose, because this screen is awesome, okay? This screen's so nice. Taj Gibson just keeps noticing, hey, guess who I have on me right now? I have Rudy Gobert on me. Guess who's hot right now? Derrick Rose. Okay, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna set a screen for Derrick Rose because I know they're not gonna change it for whatever reason. Gobert's gonna play drop coverage every single time. And Derrick Rose has been cooking against drop coverage. So we're just gonna let him cook, okay? Look at this screen right here. He makes great contact on Exum. Boom. Exum's completely caught in the screen. Gobert decides to step up a little higher this time. Credit to him where it's due. Doesn't matter, though. It doesn't matter. Derrick Rose is in rhythm. Gobert doesn't recognize that that shot is even going up because his hand doesn't even react to it. Rose is that quick. Look at how fast Rose just pops into this jumper right here on 2 feet. He's really good at getting on 2 feet quick. Pop, boom. That's just a great play. And again, the drop coverage was just too low. What do you do with that? When players are feeling it, they will take tougher and tougher shots to kind of test it, see how they're doing, right? We've seen in these games where there's just these spectacular performances. A lot of times, players don't start by shooting tough shots and making all those tough shots and then, you know, just keep doing that all night. They start with shots that come to them naturally, that are easy, that are well paced, and that, again, are not rushed. And then it turns into some rhythm. Because mentally that build-up happens and you start getting more and more confident. And confidence does matter. That's what was happening with Derrick Rose here. He wants to play a one-on-one. This is a guard, by the way. So Derrick Rose is not doing this drop coverage thing anymore right now. He's just doing guard-to-guard work, but he feels confident enough that he thinks he can get by this guy. Okay. So Derrick Rose is, you know, hitting him with some betweens, some stuff like that, trying to figure out if this defender is going to bite for anything that he can use against him, right? If he's going to bite for a between, you know, and take that as an attack and jump in one direction, Derrick Rose can attack in the other direction. He's just kind of processing, seeing what's happening, okay? And he just hits him with a step back because this guy's just kind of gliding with him. So Derrick Rose is hitting him with kind of a quick, slow step back. He's changing his pace and changing his speed because it's so hard to guard when you change pace and speed. Let's take a look at this play in full right here. Between, just glides into that step back, right? It's just a beautiful move because he's playing with his speed, which he still has oodles of speed at this point in his career. And frankly, up until he retired, he's still a very quick twitch guy. And he can do this and he can use this to his advantage because, you know, people get lulled to sleep. This play is why you play drop coverage against somebody like Derrick Rose, or at least why in theory it should be a good idea, but that doesn't necessarily mean it works, okay? Rudy Gobert is starting a good distance away from Rose, so he can officially, like, he can have an easier time navigating what moves Derrick Rose makes. Rose, though, has really great control of his body. He's very fast, and he shoots an incredibly high arcing floater that kind of is just really hard to work with as a player. Shout out to Karl Anthony Towns. He sets a really good screen right here on Exum. Boom, good screen, makes nice contact. Like, that's the big thing about this game. I keep going crazy over just good screens. Good screens are spectacular. They can change the ball game, okay? We got drop coverage, okay? Because there's a switch. Gobert is playing Rose a little higher than he normally does because Rose has hit a couple pull-ups. And he's like, you know what? I'm not going to deal with that. I'm going to take an extra step forward. Rose is like, hey, look at all this real estate down here. And Gobert has decided to take a step up. I'm faster than him. I'm going to be able to get by him. Rose hits him with a little drop cross right here. Just a little push cross, just to get it across the paint. And what this crossover does as well is he knows that Dante Exum is behind him. If he crosses the ball over, he's essentially cutting Dante Exum out of the play. Because, take a look at it right here, when he crosses over, now Exum is still on his backside. If Rose continued to attack left, Exum could get alongside him, and then he could get sandwiched between Gobert and Exum, and that could be a really tough play. That's a really smart move as a point guard, is to be able to change direction again right off that screen, kind of snake your way through. And there it is again, that 2-foot pop into the floater. Really hard to predict exactly when that's happening. So we're gonna take a look at this whole thing again, because this play is just full of good stuff. There's that. He pops on those 2 feet so quickly. And look at, he's already like halfway up in the air. Gobert's not even close. But he needs that advantage because Gobert's so long and athletic that in order to get the shot off, he's got to be much quicker than Rudy. And then this, look at how high arcing this shot is. It just goes, woo, it's a rainbow. I'm going to watch this entire play again because I just like it that much, okay? All the way through, high arcing rainbow, really soft touch. That takes years to develop. And because of that soft touch, it bounces nice on the rim and goes inside the bucket. More good screen and roll action. This time he hits the roll man. Karl Anthony Towns, great screen, great roll, gets rewarded with some free throws here. But it's a good play overall, and in a more perfect world he would have made it, but it's a pretty good result. Okay? Makes contact on the screen. Exum is behind the play. In a ball screen situation, when you set a screen, the goal is to take an entire player out of the play, right? When you start this play, there's 4 players involved, right? There's Gobert, there's Exum, and then there's Rose, and there's Towns. You got a 2v2 situation, right? This half of the floor is completely cleared out, so there's no defenders that are gonna come from the strong side, corner, or anything like that, so you can just play 2-on-2 basketball. When you set a screen, a good screen, which is what Karl Anthony Towns does, Exum gets taken out of the play temporarily, and you end up with a 2-on-1 situation. That's the benefit of a screen, is you're creating a little mini fast break in the half-court offense, if it's done properly. And so Exum is out of this play, even if it's just by a split second. That's really all you need, okay? Now, Exum's out of that play. The help side has to pop up. Okogie's actually open right here in this, on the strong side, weak side wing, because we're attacking the other direction. And so is number 43. I can't read the number that is right there, I can't read the lettering back there, but I know that's 43. Instead, he's like, I'm gonna reward my screener, my roll man. I'm gonna get it to Karl Anthony Towns. Exum, really all he can do at this point is foul him, because he's too far behind the play. And I think the one who actually ends up fouling Karl Anthony Towns is Gobert, because Gobert was banking on Derrick Rose going at him again, okay? So, the entire play, once more. Good screen, Exum's out of the play. Gobert is also behind the play because he was betting on Derrick Rose attacking the basket, but Rose makes the smart heads-up play and gets Karl Anthony Towns some free throws. One of my favorite moves of all time. I've talked about the hezzy pull-up, but is also the crossover. A lot of times you don't need a crazy, fancy move in order to get by people. You just need a really well-sold move, and that's what this crossover is. We're going to take this one in slow motion because I want to get all the goodness out of this play. Okay? So, let's take a look at this crossover. This crossover has the same footwork as a hesitation. Okay? But it just turns into a crossover. It's that 1-2 step and a little shoulder throw at the end with the head to fully cross over. You're selling that you're going to go in one direction, that you're driving in that direction, and then you're crossing over really fast. Dante Exum doesn't stand a chance. Derrick Rose has a spectacular crossover, just across the board. So Derrick Rose is cooking right here. He decides to hit him with that little hesitation. If Dante Exum were to flatten out a little bit and to give Derrick Rose that left side, Derrick could just drive left. He could just hesitate and drive left. What he decides to do instead is he decides to hit him with that crossover because Exum is banking on Derrick Rose attacking left a little too hard. You can see the defender is shifting right here. You can see he's making that little shift. So we're going to watch this real slow. Derrick Rose makes that hesitation. Exum is shifting real quick to try and get past. Rose reads that, makes the crossover, and then he's attacking. He gets in front of Exum and then makes a really athletic play, really high off the glass, and he scores. That's a tough play, but it's super fundamental. There's nothing wrong with dribbling backwards a little bit to reset, okay? So we get some screen action right up here, and Rose decides to reject it. That doesn't really benefit him as much as he thinks it was. He dribbles right into a double, but there's not enough space for Towns to actually like make a shot based on this double. He would have to space considerably more for a pick and pop. It's not really there. So the switch does come though. Rubio decides to pop out to Karl Anthony Towns, and Derrick Rose is like, I'm gonna crab dribble to back up just a little bit. So we'll take a look at this real quick. He's like, oh, I'm gonna double, I'm gonna back up a little bit. As soon as Rubio clears out, he dribbles between his legs, attacks again. There's that hesitation. There's that hesitation. Let's take a look at it. Oh, it's so good. Crab dribble, hesitation, boom. He's got the attack. He's inside, up and under. Very tough move. And he makes it look so easy. I praised Derrick Rose quite a bit in this video. I want to go over something that I got scolded about when I was younger, and there's a good reason why. So jump passes are not necessarily a bad thing overall if you know exactly where you're passing to and you know it is open. But if you jump in the air and you find yourself in a position where you cannot pass the ball, you're going to turn it over by either passing to another team or landing with the ball and traveling. And that is the danger that Derrick Rose runs into and is presented by in this case. So Rose gets in a screen. He decides to commit to a jump pass to Karl Anthony Towns. From the pause right here, this doesn't look bad, assuming that he leads Karl Anthony Towns into the paint deeper with that pass instead of into, well, the closer arms of Rudy Gobert. But you'll see right here, Jay Crowder makes a really heads-up play. He decides to actually break up that pass and happens to be in the right place, right time, because Taj Gibson was open on the pop. Taj Gibson's not like a crazy great three-point shooter, but there is an open man there that Gobert is pointing to, and, well, Crowder gambled, ended up getting the steal. So, danger of the jump passes. It's really easy to get picked off because you can't just come down with it. You have to pass the ball in the very short amount of time that you're in the air, and it can create turnovers. That's the famous Rondo fake. Really great move right there, where you're faking that you're continuing in one direction, but you've already picked up the ball, essentially. Great move. I love that move. It's one of my favorite moves of all time. And the other way that you can do it is you can fake and then just go straight up, or you can fake and then you can spin in the other direction. Either way, I loved that move all the way, like, from 6th grade to today. I've been using that move. It's one of my favorites. And against somebody like Rudy Gobert, who's going to bite on everything that Derrick Rose does, because now he's behind Rose right now. He realizes he's got to make up some ground, and he just sails right by him. Derrick Rose just outthinks him, makes a great play. So there's the counter to the Rondo spin that I brought up. The first one was when he would just fake and then go straight up with it. The second one is when you fake and then spin in the other direction. So Rose gives us back-to-back examples of the move, and he scores on both of them. That one was a lot tougher shot because he's just trying to swish that. He's been guarded the entire time, and he's from a really awkward angle. This is good defense from Dante Exum, but Derrick Rose decides, yeah, I'm just going to put this one in, and this is an incredibly clutch play as well. Great stuff. Truly a storybook game right there. Derrick Rose, one of the highlights of his career. I think there's a lot of things that people point to that are incredible things that Derrick Rose has done, and I wanted to highlight one of my own favorite performances from Derrick Rose, and that's exactly what this video was all about. I've been thinking about doing a video about Rose for a while because I have immense respect for this guy and just how much heart that he has, that he carries himself with on and off the court. And I wish him the best going forward, just, you know, through the rest of his life. Because basketball is not his entire life. He's got other things going on. And again, there's a lot that can be learned and appreciated from this game. Well, if you made it this far, like, subscribe, I don't know, follow me on Instagram or TikTok or, whatever social media platform you prefer. I have to say these things, of course. And if you want more games of me breaking down players, let me know, and I will put it on the list because I love doing these videos, and I frankly think they're a blast to just enjoy and watch these games with you guys. I just love doing it, all right? So, again, with that, I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.